Good morning. Welcome. This is Angela Coulter and
Irasig Avagnoni.
bringing you this week's special edition Saturday morning solstice ascended world. Thanks for joining us. We unfortunately had to pull this out of live streaming on Facebook this morning because Facebook, it turned out, and I know it was Facebook because we tried two different streaming services,
Right.
was being cranky with us. So we are just doing this on Zoom, but we will resume hopefully for our next live stream podcast. But so hopefully when people join us, if not, we're going to have this video and the podcast audio up shortly after we're done. So we are excited, to announce that we now have our own Facebook page, Ascended World on Facebook. We're letting it have its life of its own. We have a lot of ideas for what we're going to be doing with it this next upcoming period, so stay tuned. And if you are on the live cast or on Facebook and watching us there, then you can and listening to us there, you can also look at our old podcasts and everything else at ascendedworld.net. We have a whole bunch of them. We put them up every week. We typically do them Monday mornings at 9:30 a.m. live, and then they're posted later on that day. So there's my little PA for the morning. And let's get to what we were talking about. So what happens is, for anybody who doesn't know, Sarah and I have started doing our, we do a pre-call on what we call a pre-call on Friday for Monday morning because we just find there's so much to process. And we started talking yesterday, and it just steamrolled our discussion about everything that has been coming up for us collectively and individually and how it relates collectively. And so much bigness is going on that that we were talking about things. We got into a lot of unknown stuff that's coming up with unknown, and then realized, oh my God, so wait, tomorrow's the solstice, meaning today. And we're like, and the solstice is what? And we don't, I don't put a lot of weight on the different things, full moons and this and that and, days of the year, because it's all how we create that energy. But because we're in the energy, right, and the energy really related, because the energy of the winter solstice is about the darkest day of the year, right? Essentially the darkest day of the year. And it's when, in Wiccan practice, it's the crone hands over sort of the baton to the maiden in preparation for, growing and birthing, the spring. It's the slumber and the nourishment of the winter. And so, so the funny thing was, we got to talking yesterday. I was like, oh, well, look at how related. And there was like, bang. Oh, no, let's do one tomorrow. Let's do one in the morning.
Right. Make it our new year.
Yes, make it our new year. And while we're doing it, let's let it have its own life, and give it its own page and start doing all the things we've been talking about doing with it for like a year now, because it's sort of the message was it's time. And that leads us right into the reading. The reason for talking about that is so relevant to what's going on right now. And by the way, anybody who does join us on the Zoom, if you have any questions or anything to say, you can just type it in the chat. There's a chat thing on the bottom of your screen. So similar to like when we do it on Facebook, it's just you have a different place to do it. So anyhow, so where did we start? We started with, go ahead. So why don't you start with what you were talking about yesterday?
Oh gosh, what I was looking at, not last night, but the night before, of different ways to connect to, purpose, what I'm here for, what I need to do to move to the next. And so I set the intention in going to sleep of just aligning with my joy, fulfillment, and there was three: joy, fulfillment, and oh my gosh, did you write that down, Angela?
I did not, because you know what? I don't think you could remember it last night when we were or yesterday morning when we were talking about it. Because I remember you saying that. Oh, what was the third one? I can't remember.
joy, fulfillment, and I remembered this morning because I realized that if I align with my my joy, the fulfillment is just an end result, just like the power is. And so we got into that place of, aligning with the joy and the wow, I wish I could remember that.
Anyway, go ahead. In the process of aligning with all of that.
Right. In the process of aligning with that, I realized that it put me in a different place to connect with my power. And I found that my power, I was creating that, and I was stepping into that powerful place, but then I kept looking back at where I was and trying to fix it, trying to make it better, trying to still stay in the same place, but the best word is fix it. And I found that everything just fell flat once I did that. And so I wanted to obviously embrace that power and embody that power. So I had to look somewhere else to move the power towards. And I was like, but how do I move into something I don't know about? And how do I create in a place that I know nothing of, or I remember nothing of? And it was that, that brought up the whole issues with, trust and creating from a place of unfamiliarity. So we were talking about that yesterday, and about that is the creative void. And that is creating from that place of trust and whatever's next. And if it doesn't line up with your joy and that place of unconditional love, then it's going to fall flat. It's like everything has to be in that alignment.
Yeah. So there's like 50 levels that you just discussed right there that are all interrelated. And so the first thing that was really important was that shifting from a place of fixing to creating, right? Which takes, and that's huge in itself, right? So like these are all huge topics that all interrelate, and we'll get to the place on how it's related to this whole darkest day of the year thing and all that kind of stuff and the darkness. But so Trinity energy progression, right? What we teach is the foundation of understanding. Like we changed it, and that came to me a while ago, that we changed how we did creation, right? And we took it away from what we understand as healing, because we look at healing as we have to fix something, right? And that's what healing is all about. I need to heal this, right? I need to fix it because there's something that implies that there's judgment there that something's wrong.
Right. I remember the third one. It was passion.
Okay. All right. There it is. Maybe I should write that down now so we remember.
Right. I was aligning with my joy, passion, and fulfillment to create my power.
Right.
What I have come around to is my joy and my passion brings me to the fulfillment and power.
Right. So going back to the whole fixing thing, because this is fixing in itself, the idea of fixing is a huge habit for us to break.
Right. Well, and we've been in that mode for so long.
Right. It's such a deeply ingrained thing. Well, because this whole duality and separation thing is created from the idea of, from separation, there means there's lack, right? So that means that there can be something broken, or there can be something that's not right, or there can be something out of place, or whatever. And
fixing leads to doing.
Right. Which we put so much value on in this reality. So, when we talk about healing, right? When we talk about energy healing, we talk about healing. So, you need to heal that, or I need to heal this, or whatever. That is the implication that we have to fix something, right? So then guess what that does? That takes, and you and I mean, I'm just saying this for people who are listening who need that different perspective, but it's like, when we start to heal, we take our eyes off the present and we move it to the past.
Right.
We take it to the not present, right? Which means we're taking it to things that don't exist, and then we're recreating them by putting energy to them. Mm-hmm. Which, by the act of saying I have to heal something, is actually recreating it to be healed, which is interesting. Recreating that thing that's out of alignment. Right?
Right. That's like someone used to say, well, I'm trying to do blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, then you're going to spend all your time just trying.
Right. Instead of just doing.
It's the same with healing.
Yes.
You'll spend all your time healing.
Right. Right. And so what we shifted to a long time ago in the practice because of all this guidance was, well, instead of healing and looking in the past all the time, because when we do that, we bring the history forward and make it present. Then we create from the present. We create what is optimal for us, right? So that was exactly what you were like. That's a longer explanation of what you're talking about, shifting from a place of fixing to a place of creating, because that's a much different energy. It takes you out of the past and into the present, and it takes all your energy out of trying to change the past, which doesn't exist anymore, right? Unless we choose to bring it into the present. And then it's a conscious choice of what we create right now, right? So that was like a first big one. And then when you started talking about that, the joy, passion, and fulfillment, that's a career power. It was, I had talked about when I had done my meditation yesterday morning. Actually, what I've been doing for the past week myself has been, so let's talk a little bit about the energies pervading collectively, because there's a lot.
Right.
We have a lot of potentials that are floating out there right now. And so this is why it sort of fit into this solstice kind of thing, or this dark day of the year, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't even matter, because the energy that has been pervading is we are going through more of an accelerated change and shifting than we have ever done. Like, it continues to accelerate exponentially. And so every time we think we've got this, now it's going to take off even more. And we know this because many, many of us this year have gone through major changes in our lives. Major changes, like moves and divorces and deaths and of all kinds, deaths of relationships and jobs and, like living situations. Like, there's almost nobody that I know like that has had nothing, right? And I'd say the past year has been the most prevalent. Some people it's been like a couple of years, but it's been picking up speed, right? So basically it's wiping the slate clean to create into the unknown, right? And so when I was meditating, the thing is, I'm usually really good at creating and saying, okay, this is what I'm ready to create. But the more we go, the more it just is about being in that joy, passion, and fulfillment, being that fulfilled embodiment of the divine beings that we are and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So what I had written down in my journal yesterday said, I'll have to find it, but it was very similar. So when you came to that whole thing about creating in the unknown, I said, isn't that really funny? Because I was writing it down as you were saying it. And as I was writing it, I said, wait a second, I've written this already. Where did I write this? And I was like, wait, in my journal. And so in my journal, I had yesterday morning written, we are being asked by our higher collective consciousness to really stretch beyond our boundaries, to flow into a completely new place, previously out of context, and thus creating in the unknown.
Bing.
Bing. I was like, oh, look at that. Look at how aligned that was. So, and what do we consider the unknown? We consider it the dark.
Right.
And that's where it leads into when you start talking about the creative void and whatever. The funny thing is, when you say dark, people judge that and get scared. Right?
Absolutely.
So, because, I love the Marie Curie quote, we only fear what we don't understand, right? So that's sort of like when we have, like when we say, and I was doing a session, and in the session, that's part of what was going on with the client. And I'm happy. I'm in a good place. This is the client. I'm in a good place, and a much better place than I've been in a long time. And I feel like there's something more. And they had gone to this place of being really on the edge of stuff. And then they sort of pulled back for a while, and then they reorganized their life. And then now they're like, okay, so now I'm good and I'm ready to do more. And as soon as we started talking about creating the unknown, it was like this energetic, no!
Right. You shrink away from it.
Like, what? Wait. No, because now the known is comfortable. Like, I want
Right.
So the thing is for us to really, so what you and I have talked about so much about on our recent weeks has been about, what was it? Crap, I forgot what that connection was. Oh, being versus doing, right?
Right.
Coming to that place of, so if we focus on being joy, passion, and fulfillment, right? Being fulfilled embodiment of the potential, that we have as the divine. And that's what we focus on from a place of love and wholeness and whatever. Then everything we do is infused with that.
Right. Everything uses that as like its basic template.
Right.
For its creation.
Right. And so the alignment, I feel like, naturally happens in our 3D self if we focus on that alignment within our whole self. Right. Which is what you're talking about in much more, nauseating detail. Right. But, our biggest thing is that fear of the dark. And the funniest thing is when you talk to people about the creative void, they sort of shrink back a little bit, because as soon as you say void, they think darkness.
Right. And that fear of nothingness.
Except the thing is, and so when I have consciously tapped into the creative void, oh, here comes the yawns. Okay. When I have consciously tapped or just been present in the creative void, I would not even describe it as dark in any way. I would describe it as infinite potential.
It's like almost electric.
Yes.
It crackles.
Yes. And it is nothingness, but it's also everythingness.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So you can look in any direction and create in every way.
Right.
Right.
Right. All in alignment with that joy and passion.
Yes.
Which is the key.
Right.
Alignment.
And it's so natural when we do.
Exactly.
And then we don't have
what we shied away from just because we've been so disconnected from that joy and passion.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. We focus so much here on identity, right? That's the ego's exploration and this part of our consciousness, whatever. And so that's the doing, right? What do I have to do to be valuable? What do I have to do to be seen as this, right?
Right.
But when we are being and saying, well, I am being all of the divine potential that I can be, and that will just fall out into everything. Now, the trust becomes innate because it's already there, right?
Right.
Then we're not sitting there searching, because searching is like a big word right now in the whole spiritual community. Oh, I'm searching for my purpose, right?
Right. Right.
Our purpose is to embody this energy.
Exactly. Because from there, anything's possible.
Right. And then when we really focus on that, all the stuff we do starts to change, because yes, first you'll infuse it this way, you'll infuse everything you're already doing, but then you will also find other things. And then it's almost like, to me, the things that really light up from those passions, from that passion embodiment, the
Right.
things that light up are the things that'll really jazz you. Like, even though you're you're happy and fulfilled and doing everything, it's like, but you'll be drawn to stuff, or stuff will just come to you that will naturally resonate with your vibration of that. And that's creation in this reality, right?
Right. And that's the infusion of the fulfillment.
Yes. And completely effortless. Then you don't have to
Right.
search for anything, because it just comes to you. And you're
Right.
just like, okay. And that was what I was talking about with this client about, like, well, try different things. Okay. So if you know that your passion is mostly sparked through this venue, right? This kind of energy, well, then just infuse that energy into everything you do. I'm like, and like, so what do you love about that? What do you love about doing this? And what, what else, like, what makes you jazz when you're in that place? And in that conversation, we came up with several things, like, off that conversation of, oh, well, why don't you try this? Or why don't you just throw this out there and see how it sticks? And they're like,
Right.
oh, I never even thought about that. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And the thing is, that might not be the ultimate end result, but at least when you do that and you're embodying that, then when you go out and meet and connect with other people through that energy, right? Then you get connected, and it's like the way that the universe conspires to help you create that and manifest it in the way that's perfect for the collective symphony and for
Right.
you.
Right.
So how beautifully effortless that becomes.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so
it reminds me of that what flash mob symphony that you posted the other day. It's like everybody just all of a sudden shows up with their instruments to create this beautiful.
Yes, that was the energy of that, which is why I love that.
Right.
I was like, that must be outside of a concert hall or something where they were practicing or something like that. I'm like, but that was really cool. And that's exactly right. And then it's just like, okay. And it was, it started because one person, gave money or donated to the street player. And then it was like more came and more came and more came. And it's just that connection. When we start to connect, like I posted something today about that friend of ours from Peru who does that whole connection project, which I think is incredible. And that's the whole thing, is like, when we can allow ourselves to be that embodiment and know that we're worthy of it, that we're worthy of perfection, that we are perfection, that we are worthy of, just being that love and joy and passion and fulfillment.
Right. And that we don't have to do anything to get there.
Yes.
There.
Yeah. Then it's like, then it's all play.
Right.
And then we can truly play with the potential of the creative void, which to me, talking about like this whole, like the darkest day of the year, right, is a great way to celebrate the potential of the creative void.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Because it's in the cold.
I see it as the new year for me.
Yeah. And it's like in the cold of the winter, which is not the case everywhere, right? But it's in the center of the winter is when, everything has fulfilled itself from the past cycle, right? And it's okay. So now it's sort of like all going back into mulch and, like feeding the potential of the fulfillment of what's next. Yep. And so that's the creation into the unknown.
That to me, that just feels like perfection.
Right? Totally. And so if we allow ourselves, and then we don't have to know. So yes, can we create? Absolutely. Right? We look at our motivations for creating, right? Is it egoic that I need to do this or whatever? Is it something I truly, if we set the creation of, I am living my potential in fulfillment and joy and passion and love in every moment, then step back and trust that.
Right.
And just feel and follow the pull of the guidance of where we go, even if it's crazy. So here's the thing, even if it seems to be crazy, that's what we're getting pulled to do right now. That's the big potential, right? We have so much standing out there, and you and I talked about this, and this is sort of what steamrolled is. We have a big year coming in this country because we have the chance to finish the challenging lessons that we've had for a number of years and do it differently, or we can exacerbate it and make it worse until we finally puke it all up and let it go so that we can really move forward in a new place.
Right.
And I'm not saying that with any, no judgment or whatever, but the thing is, it's, if we all do this and commit to this individually, it will be easy to move forward in that bigger perspective.
Right. Right.
So that's the energy to shift with. That's the energy to sit with and to commit ourselves to, because you know what? I would rather sit and commit myself to that joy, passion, fulfillment, and love, right? I'd rather do that and say, that's my purpose. That's my purpose, right? And then see everything fall in line around me than to put all this energy into this feeling of externalized stuff and, being angry about this and judgmental about this and this person and what they're doing and what they're not doing and all this kind of stuff, to say, but if I am in that fulfillment place and everything I do is going to be effortless and complete, and it's going to affect the whole because it will be purposeful no matter what it is.
Exactly.
And if we all did that, then guess what? All the stuff would just be gone and we'd be way past this in like a leap year, which, and by the way, 2020 is.
It is a leap year. So we're really going to leap forward.
So all kinds of excitement, yes, there's potential for things to go pretty crazy, like an extreme. And there's a lot of potential for it to go pretty crazy and extreme in this really awesome, fun way, and so it's our choice.
Right.
And it all starts, here. So the first step is, because the creating into the unknown is the scariest part for many, right? The unknown is the scariest part for many, because if the funny thing is, I've brought that up to several people this week about all this like vision that I had when I let myself look in that direction of the potentials.
Right.
And some of the visions that I had were pretty jarring, and they're like, right away. Then people go, what? Well, what was it? They want to know. And I'm just like, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
What matters is what? That we pay attention to here first.
Exactly. Yeah. Get back to the basics, which, joy, passion, fulfillment, all that alignment.
And the other thing is, because many of us have gone through a period of like that big cleansing of whatever, right? Letting go, being forced to let go of a lot of stuff, right? In ways that look really bizarre. In fact, very funny that I thought of, very funny, was last night. Anybody who's like listened to these with us, and that I've talked about my house getting taken down by the DOT. What I thought was so perfectly symbolic was that, the house was supposed to have been taken down months ago and whatever. And so last night I got an email from a former neighbor who said, hey, the house was taken down today.
Right.
And then she's like, well, do you want to see pictures? And I'm like, absolutely, send them over. And we had another neighbor that did the same. And I thought, oh, interesting. I was talking to my daughter about that this morning, because I'm like, okay, well, so the symbolism of Yule, or the solstice, is like, one of the things is like really letting go of everything that is still holding you back, right? And I said,
exactly.
I said, so how perfect was it that the old house that we lived in for 22 years was taken down yesterday? Because it's like, okay, in case you thought you had any little bit to hold on to, nope, it's gone.
Right.
So, so it's like, it's really letting go of expectations, because here's the thing, creating into the unknown is creating into context that we don't have yet.
Right. Exactly. And that's the part that gives you pause.
Yes. Because if you say, okay, well, you don't have any context. If you truly listen to your higher self saying you don't have the context yet, which I've heard, right? You don't have the context yet. So
just trust and go ahead.
The ego goes, what?
Yeah, I know. Right.
But I want my little safe this. I found this like little comfortable this. And it's like, okay, well, like, yeah. And so visions that I've had in the past where I had no context for, I realized later on when I allow them to come off the shelf and I look at them again, oh, now I have context for it. Now I understand what it was.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's perfect. That worked out just great.
Exactly. But when I first saw it, I was like, what? What does this mean? Does this mean this? And then the ego starts going, right?
Right. And that's when, if you just focus back on the alignment, everything just calms right back down.
Yes. Yes. Because instead of looking at it as scary, if we look at it as fun and fulfilling, the
Right.
potential, like, think of all the new cool things that can happen. Think of all the magic we can create.
Exactly.
And make ourselves so like such an embodiment of bliss that we just want to explode in orgasm kind of thing.
Right, right.
You know? But and we deserve that. And now like that's our purpose for humanity. So it's for us to get out of our own way, right? To say, okay, well, I'm gonna trust. And I know that my higher self and higher consciousness has my back, and I know that I'm the perfect note in in this whole symphony, right? And so let me fulfill that in the way that's just totally like fun and joyous and whatever. And even if the whole out of context thing comes, because we are going to get that, and we are starting to get that in big ways. Like weird things are coming out of nowhere. It's like, where did that come from? Like, oh, maybe that's just supposed to be a distraction. No, maybe that's something that we need to look at as a possibility, right?
Right.
Because it is so, the thing is, if it is so far out of left field, there's a reason it was thrown at you that way, so that it would take your attention instead of you would pass it by. Right.
Right. Right.
So that I think is our creation for today, is to allow ourselves to be that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
To be that joy, passion, fulfillment, to be our, to be our potential, to be our passion, to be our joy and fulfillment, and to trust and allow everything that comes to us to be infused as that, and to know that it's all going, in that alignment within ourselves. There's that individual wholeness, right? In that alignment within ourselves.
Exactly.
It will align with everything naturally, and that everything will just synchronize and become more and more magical, by the way, and synchronistic and everything else, to allow us to really be that embodiment. Oh, that feels fabulous.
That does. That feels amazing.
All right. Well, let's go and do that, shall we?
Okay. Sounds great.
Yep. And for anybody who is unfamiliar with the way we do this, you can just step back, and even if you're listening to the recording, step outside of space and time and just be open to receive, and take a deep breath and close your eyes, and we're out there together. That was awesome.
That was like rain in the desert. That was just so amazing.
Oh my goodness, that was incredible. Oh, there's a yawn. Wow.
Oh,
And oh, you know what else I saw out there? So it was interesting was there was this moment of I was looking at I was looking at the collective. I was observing us all together. And then it was like, well, there are others who are celebrating their summer solstice today, right? Which is the opposite, right? The longest day of the
I
year.
hadn't even thought about that.
And then
Talk
I
about balance.
talk about completion, right? And it's like, oh, look at that. Look at that wholeness. Like that was just really
Oh,
beautiful. Yeah, incredible. To join it all together instead of, because there's the potential, right? And fulfillment
right.
together. Like, and there's no difference because it's all part of the whole. And I was like, oh yeah, that's even better.
Right. Right.
It was like, oh, and then I just melted into like bliss.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it just felt so complete and like, oh, finally. And that just that immersion and that joy and passion just was like a nice stepping into like a nice spa tub.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, like it was just, yeah. So, wow, what a great gift for all of us
right.
to remember. A great gift for all of us. So, um, yeah, so I'm going to go bliss out and go to Kung Fu.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Have a great whatever you celebrate.
Exactly. A great celebration.
Great celebration because we all deserve it. I mean, this is incredible, incredible, shifting at the collective. So whatever you feel in your heart, just let it expand and be. So on that, we'll let you go. Thank you for joining us. Have a great one. This is Angela Coulter and
Sieg Avignoni.
bringing you this week's Ascended World.